All right, hi everyone. Welcome to Mindgasms. So, I am Andrew, aka the Jackal Mindgasms, and we have the Woke Centrist, aka Dusty Cubes, aka Dustin Cubit, aka the Hell Diving Centrist here, of course, who I often talk with, and we're going to discuss Goden Son, Book Two, in Pierce Brown's kind of sci-fi fantasy that becomes more sci-fi series about a lower class spy who in the first book infiltrates the upper class rulers for to avenge the murder of his wife, and in this one he starts to spy for the other side, for the rebels who also want to remove the Emperor Nero. And yes, there are lots of ancient Roman names of people in these books, which is interesting. And uh, and then he starts a revolution and and in this book a civil war from within the upper classes. And from other than that basic premise, there's a hell of a lot of other stuff going on and all sorts of details and shifting alliances. And there's that surprise ending that you mentioned, and all sorts of really cool stuff going on. So, you want to start off with your general thoughts about it and also the book in general in comparison to book two?
Yeah, so of the three, I think this is probably my favorite.
Of the
Um,
first three?
yeah, I think it's
Okay.
my favorite mainly because of the ending is so shocking
Yeah,
um, and unexpected. That was really unexpected for me. And this book has like a breakneck pace. It
it
has like
really
major
does.
betrayals. Um, like we get some character deaths, like not super major ones, but definitely ones that were from the first book. And we have Darrow. He is just put through the ringer in this book, through every step of it. It seems
Yeah.
um, like in the very beginning, he's basically everybody wants to kill him, and Nero, who is kind of his sponsor, Nero is basically kind of like the governor of Mars, and he doesn't want Darrow any longer as his champion.
That happens
So
does that happen, if I remember correctly, after the start of the book where um, when Nero has been appointed to be in charge of Nero's armies or something, if he passes like this, basically this kind of combat test, and he fucks up and it results in a whole bunch of deaths, and then that's the point when Nero removes him from his command.
well, Darrow does poorly in the combat test um, when he goes up against Cassius's older brother.
Right.
Um, but also, there's kind of like some, I would say, politicking happening behind the scenes
Hmm.
regarding Darrow. So, what I believe is, and this is a possibility, that the Empress, who is, I guess she rules from the moon or something like that, but she's kind
Oh
of
yeah,
like
I
the,
forgot about that.
she's kind of like the ruler of all the golds in some sort of respect. I believe there's supposed to be some type of democracy, and this book is about that empress overstepping her authority.
Yeah.
So, what I think what's going on behind the scenes, and it's not explicit, is that she might be manipulating things in order to separate Darrow from Augustus, because
Yeah.
ultimately, I think she wanted to assassinate Augustus.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I thought possibly she had been pulling strings for Augustus or for Darrow to lose or to weaken Augustus in that way. I think she was
Yeah,
trying
that
to split the
would.
house apart.
Yeah, because like Civil War would benefit her too. Yeah. That's
Right,
why part of why there's so many conflicting interests and people switching sides and stuff like that in this book.
right. So one of the big worries about Darrow is that once he becomes a free agent, he doesn't have any protection to protect him from the cat. Well, I don't know what the last name of the Cassius's family. I always forget.
Cassius
But
is who?
his family, because they have
Hmm.
a blood feud against Darrow
Okay.
for
I'll
him
look that
killing
up, see if I
Julian.
can find it.
Yeah, I forgot their names, but um, he also has this other friend who basically agrees to buy him up as a free agent if
Right.
that comes to pass. And I believe his name is Roke, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
wrote.
and Roke
It's
is like one of Darrow's
Cassius Albolona, by the way.
Albolona. There you go. I know
Yeah.
it had something to do with lunch meat. I guess I had
Yeah.
forgotten that.
Yeah.
So anyway, like I said, like Cassius and the Albolona family has a blood feud against him,
Hmm.
and this blood feud is it is pretty heavy. Like it is it's not something that Darrow can tackle alone, and with the prospect of him being expelled from the Augustus family, this can have dire consequences.
Yeah.
And not only is this happening, also there's some turmoil within the Sons of Ares itself, and
Hmm.
we get to see that Darrow finds out that the leadership has been turned upside down while while he was talking with the jackal. Someone tried to assassinate the jackal, and Darrow saved the jackal's life. I don't know why, but he did. Um, he did it because he needed to still be with the Augustus family to accomplish his goals.
Right. Right.
And he didn't understand why the Sons of Ares are now resulting in doing bombing campaigns and terrorist activities
Right.
in that vein, which wasn't what they had been doing before. It had mainly been infiltration and intelligence gathering.
Right.
And there has been a rise in kind of like these terroristic acts.
Right.
But we also find out that these terroristic acts are happening because there's been a split in the leadership in the Sons of Ares, and
Right.
one of the
Yeah.
members named Harmony tries to take over the group.
Right. Yeah. Divided rulership in uh I think it's called the society, the class of the upper class of rulers, and the emperor and the empress, and then also the division of loyalties in the Sons of Ares, like you said too.
Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of chaos going
Yeah.
on. And then also, Harmony tries to manipulate Darrow by telling Darrow that his unborn child had been murdered.
Yeah, that's a major reveal that we find out too. That Eo, he was the lowest class, and so was his wife Eo at the beginning of the
Mm-hmm.
first book, and she was publicly executed. But it was concealed from him that there was video footage of a crib or something, and she knew she was pregnant, but she didn't tell him. I forget the exact details of that.
Well, yeah, they found he was given some video footage of, I think it was his cousin or sister or something like that, being told not to tell Darrow that she was pregnant. Um, and that was actually at the execution where she told her to conceal that information.
I don't remember why she concealed that information.
She concealed it because if she knew that if Darrow knew she was pregnant, that would utterly like devastate him.
It would
Worse,
what?
so more it would devastate him more that okay, my wife is dead and now I had an unborn child. She thought it
Oh,
would have been too much for him to handle.
okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And
So
there's
he gets manipulated, right?
yeah. And do I remember correctly that there's some sort of they don't really fully pursue it, but there's kind of some sort of love triangle brewing with Darrow and Mustang and one other. I forget what
Vitra.
her name. Yeah, yeah,
Well, the thing is Vitra seems to have the hots for Darrow,
yeah,
but Darrow is not kind of returning that affection.
yeah. It's kind of like the semi relationship between Aragorn and Eowyn in Two Towers and Return of the King.
Yeah, yeah, a little bit. Like Vitra is like everyone has a tough time trusting Vitra because her sister is what Antonia, and
Right,
Antonia is like an evil piece of work. So they're not sure how they can trust her because of hey, if that's your sister, how do we know that you're not like secretly infiltrating our group? You know,
right,
stuff like that.
right, right.
Um,
And
but
another thing you mentioned the fast pace of this book. It's so fast paced,
yes,
and there are all sorts of awesome battles that are like there are awesome full sci-fi battles with like spaceship battles, and then the aspect that keeps it somewhat sci-fi fantasy, even though it's much more fantasy or much more sci-fi than sci-fi fantasy in this book in
mm-hmm.
comparison to the first one in particular. Like
Mm-hmm.
they still have those bladed weapons that they use. All of the
The
I think the
razors.
Jack, yeah, yeah, all the and the Sons of Ares, yeah, that's what they're called, the razors. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Like that's why that sort of thing is why I got like mild Dune vibes from this book and the last book, just simply because it's a sci-fi fantasy world where there are lasers and spaceships and stuff, but also people fight with bladed weapons still.
Right. I think these particular bladed weapons seem to be like able to cut through almost anything, it seems.
Hmm.
Seems
And
like there's
it's
not
cool
much
that
that
it
can
has
stop
that.
them.
It's cool that it has that extending part on the end of it too.
Right. So these razors have the ability to go into like a whip state
Yeah.
at the press of a button. So it can become um, malleable and whip-like, and then you press a button and it'll become a sword. But from what I remember, you get to configure what the sword looks like.
Right.
So in Darrow's case, his sword is a sling blade when it's in sword form. And that is like because he is the Reaper. um,
Yeah, that's a cool detail.
so there's kind of like a big turning point in the story where we find out a few things. Um, and this is the point where Darrow is sent to assassinate like an entire group of golds, and he decides not to. Right.
Hmm.
Um, but even though he doesn't decide to, everything, the shit still hits the fan. Everything still goes tits up
Hmm.
because he starts a fight with Cassius at this gala.
Yeah.
And little did we know, because if we remember from the last book, Cassius handed Darrow his ass and basically near killed him.
Hmm.
because Darrow did not have any, like, he was kind of a brute force type of fighter. He didn't have any real finesse or fighting skills. His ability to win fights was based off of him being a gritty character. He could take a lot of punishment and can dish out a lot of punishment.
Mm-hmm.
And when it came to like sword fighting and combat arts, he was kind of lacking because he didn't have the training that Cassius did.
Yes.
So on the first iteration of their fight, he was left for dead. In this instance, we're like, oh shit, what? Like in my mind, why is he going to challenge Cassius to a duel when he got his ass handed to him last time? And then we find out, like, between then and now, he had been training with the most celebrated sword master in the known universe,
Mm-hmm.
Arcus, and he handed Cassius's ass to him. I think he chopped off his arm or something like that during the fight.
Yeah.
Or his hand. So he defeats Cassius, and he saves Augustus from being assassinated.
Yeah.
And this kind of puts him back in Augustus's good graces. So he's no longer going to be expelled any longer. Augustus now needs him to protect them. So a lot of this story is about this civil war now that has erupted between this faction that Augustus has formed versus the faction of the sovereign. And they're kind of going at it throughout this book and various fights and battles.
Yep.
But there's also another theme underlying the story as well. And we get to see it throughout his interaction with other lower classes. And he uplifts many representatives of these classes. Like I know he befriends or gives command to his fleets a blue who is a bit unorthodox. I think her name is Orion. And he also befriends a Obsidian named Ragnar, who then becomes one of the most effective generals of his army.
That's my favorite character in this book because he's such
Ragnar?
a badass. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like this huge jacked guy who is an awesome soldier, as you were saying.
Right. And we get to see him inspire the lower classes to be more than what they've been told that they are. And he treats them as equals, even though Reds are like the lowest of the low. They're basically on the bottom of the totem pole.
Are pinks even lower?
Yeah, maybe pinks are. I think because
I think
pinks just
pinks
end up being sex slaves.
Yeah. I think I seem to remember that.
And they, I think up to the age of 12, they're basically tortured.
Yeah.
So, but after that age, I think they have a bit more autonomy. I think the thing about Reds is that their life is just full of hard labor.
Mm-hmm.
And they are basically forced to work in order to survive.
Yep.
So yes, there's a lot of running and gunning and battles and fleet battles and a lot of awesome like stuff that happens in the story.
Definitely. Yeah, there's so much stuff. It's hard to keep track of everything that happens. I definitely didn't keep track of everything.
Yeah, it is very hard because, like I said, it's like a breakneck pace this book. It's like there's all those things going on. There's all those battles. There's all of these things that are happening.
Mm-hmm.
You think Darrow is about to lose, and no, oh shoot, he had this little plan in his pocket that he reveals to the reader at the last minute,
Mm-hmm.
And this happens a lot in the series,
Yep.
where we're not told like the little trick plan that he might have, and he unleashes at the right moment.
Yep.
So he does become successful in this, in a way. And I also forgot to mention that between the last book and this book, Mustang had gone her separate way from Darrow,
Right.
because she
Right.
was upset that Darrow took her dad's offer for to be his champion.
Right. Right.
Because I don't believe Mustang does not like her dad's philosophy regarding the social structure of the Golds.
Yeah. 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 I remember that from the first book.
Yeah. So Darrow can't really reveal his plan quite yet. And that's interesting because there are some characters that Darrow reveals his true self to. And Mustang is one person that trusts Darrow absolutely, but is not the first person that that he entrusted that information to.
Yeah.
That he was really a Red, because there were two others that he told before Mustang.
Yeah. Who were they again?
He told Ragnar that he was a Red, and he also told what's his name, the head of the Howlers, Severo.
Right. Right.
But he only told Severo when he got cornered about Severo.
Right. Yeah, because Severo suspected him.
Well, it's not that. It's that Ares told Severo the whole plan.
Yeah.
And Ares and Severo knew who Ares was at that point in time, but Darrow didn't.
Right.
All right, so I think he had to probably keep that a secret. But yeah, there was a lot going on in the story.
Definitely.
It's almost extremely difficult to unpack it because of all of the little intricate details and how
Yeah.
quickly the story is paced. It's just there's so much that happens. I know when there is a point when they do get captured by the Sovereign, right? And Darrow almost, because they play like a little game, right? Is this in the second book? Yeah, I believe it's in the second book.
Which?
I have to try to remember not to confuse the second book with the third book. Yeah, it has to be the second book. There's no way it's the third book. So there's this part where I guess you could say he gets captured or set aside, and he gets set aside while the Sovereign tries to assassinate the Augustus family.
Okay.
And before he gets set aside, the Sovereign asks him to play a game, which is basically like truth or dare. And if you
Oh
don't
yeah,
tell the
yeah,
truth,
yeah. That is in this book. I remember what you're talking about. Yeah.
yeah, if you don't tell the truth, you die. So he's like stressing the hell out because he doesn't know if he's going to be asked any questions about the Sons of Ares.
Right.
And if he does, he has to tell the truth or he gets stung by this lethal scorpion or whatever the hell it was.
Right.
So he squeaks by that encounter, like barely, but he actually makes the sovereign lie. And this sets up because I think in during this whole game, Mustang is there observing,
Yeah.
and he gets the sovereign to admit that the sovereign had tried to assassinate Mustang's father.
Right.
All right, so it's definitely he definitely won the game, and we also know that at this point in time as well is that Darrow is extremely jealous about the whole situation with Mustang because Mustang had been shacking up with Cassius, who is at this point Darrow's mortal enemy.
Right. Right. Yes, more romantic drama.
Yeah, like another another drama. But in this case, since they don't dwell on these things too much, it didn't really bother me a whole lot.
Oh yeah, yeah, me neither.
Yeah, it's like, hey, these are young characters, and they've been through a lot of shit, especially Darrow and Mustang. Of
Hmm.
course, he's going to have strong feelings for her. And it's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
going to
definitely.
just, fizzle away like that.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
So, what do you think how they handled like the romantic relationships in this book?
Yeah, I liked it. It was, there were kind of some. Like you said, just a little bit of drama with Darrow and Mustang, and I forget her name, but that other woman who likes Darrow, and
Vitriol Julia, I think is the name.
right, Vitra, and the guy Mustang was shacking up with. So they both want to be together, but they're with other people. It's kind of tropey a little bit, but it's not, like you said, they didn't dwell on it very much at all. It was just kind of in the background during all of the epic battles and stuff. So that works really well because it's good motivations for the characters, and it wasn't like cheesy or sappy in any way during the romance parts too. So yeah, I think that part of the book was executed very well.
Well, the thing I liked about it too is that throughout this whole book, um, Darrow and Mustang were kind of at arm's length.
Hmm.
They weren't like romantically involved at all in this book.
Right.
He
Yeah.
was trying to figure out his intentions or her intentions this whole time because he didn't know that the whole shacking up with Cassius thing was a ploy.
Right.
And then, we never ever resolve what, like how far intimately she got with Cassius. So we never really get to know if she
Yeah.
like if she really had sex with him or not. Like it's implied that she did, especially from Cassius. But I think they kind of imply it again in the next book where some things happen. I'm not going to get into that, but yeah. So one of the things I want to talk about, and I want to hear your take. Um, what did you think about him revealing his true self to Mustang as like the last person he did this to? And he seemingly didn't get the reaction that he was expecting.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think because even though she has a lot of problems with her father Nero Augustus, who's the current emperor, I think it's perhaps similar to why other people on Darrow's side weren't trusting Victra, because she's still associated with the enemy, even though she might be more likely to share loyalties with him. But I don't know, like Ragnar in particular, I don't really get that. I don't really get why he would tell him before Mustang, because he only just met him in this book.
I think he was trying to, like, I think his intent to do that with Ragnar was more about giving Ragnar confidence that he could be a leader. Because Ragnar saw Darrow as a leader. And he wanted to show Ragnar that he wasn't a leader because he was a gold.
Right.
So
Yeah,
he's
yeah. You can be a
explicitly
leader even if you're from a lower class.
yeah, so he's trying to instill that into Ragnar so that he himself becomes a leader in himself and within Darrow's organization.
Right.
Because we do know, this is this the book where Darrow gives him a razor, which is kind of like forbidden?
Yeah.
He's doing like a lot of things that are forbidden,
Yeah.
giving
Well, like,
Obsidian a
he's
razor.
doing like you were saying earlier, he's trying to unite the classes instead of have this and gradually break down this caste system that has existed in the Martian Empire for a long time.
Right. Right, the solar empire. So it's like the entire solar system kind of abides by this
Yeah. By
class
Martian
system.
Empire, I mean like intergalactic Martian Empire or intragalactic. I don't know, just
Well, I
our
think it's just
universe,
the solar system. I don't think they're
just
extra
our
solar. I think,
galaxy.
yeah, I think it's just the solar system, much like the expanse before like the gates open.
Right.
So it's just like the immediate solar system. So they're not really traveling outside of our solar system. It's just
Right.
all the different planets from, Mercury to, Uranus or whatever you want to
Right.
call it.
But it is but it is called I was just I totally just because you just said Uranus, and I have a childish sense of humor like you do. I was remembering I've been rewatching I've been rewatching The Simps, not just The Simpsons, but also Futurama. So there
Mhm.
was a there was a joke the other day where uh, involving how apparently sometime in the 2600s the name of Uranus was changed to Eurectum.
Your rectum. They made it more scientific. Well, the rectum and anus like kind of like the
It's kind of
same,
the
almost the
same.
same thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, it's cool though that that the Empire is across the whole universe and interplanetary in the red rising world. Like you don't see the other planets and anything like that to anywhere near the extent that you do in the Expanse, because the focus is still mostly on Mars, but you're still
Mhm.
the planet other planets still get pretty heavily involved in the struggle.
Mm. Yeah. So one of the things I wanted to bring up with you is what do you think of the Ares reveal?
Oh, you mean like at the end?
It didn't happen at the end because I know we got to see who Ares is finally.
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah. I thought you meant like at the surprise twist at the end involved with
oh no
him.
no no no! This is like during the middle of the book where we get to find out who Ares is because there's a point in time where Darrow is about to get his ass murdered, and a certain person helps him out before he got his ass murdered. I think he was trying because they had planned some type of assault to capture the sovereign, and this ultimately failed because he did board the sovereign ship, but he was outgunned.
Right.
So at this time, the sovereign ordered her rage knight to kill Darrow, and instead of killing him, he saved them.
Right. Oh yeah, so it turns out to be good that he didn't.
Fitchner.
Yeah, Fitchner. I don't remember that much about Fitchner himself.
Well, Fitchner was on the first book. He was the Mars Proctor,
Okay.
and he had helped Darrow basically behind the scenes. He was helping Darrow.
Okay. So yeah,
Um,
he's doing that anonymously after that.
yeah, he was
Yeah.
helping Darrow during the Institute because we saw that the Institute was rigged, and he let Darrow know that it was rigged, and he was kind of trying to protect him. We also get Fitchner's backstory, which is pretty interesting. Um, we find out that Fitchner had a red wife, and his son is
Oh
half
right.
red and half gold. So
Right.
Severo is like a half goldling or whatever you want to call
Yeah, half gold, half red.
him. Yeah. And we also find out like how freaking loyal Severo is to the Darrow. Like after hearing that news, like this didn't even deter Severo at all. After he
Hmm.
found out that he was red,
Right.
um, and I'm unsure whether Severo knew his mom was a red or not. I think Aries may. I don't even think he knew his dad was there, but he did eventually find that out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I liked his little story and why he became Aries. The other interesting thing too is during this during this book, because there's so much stuff that happens
I know.
during this book. I'm trying to think if it's this book because I get confused if it's this book or the next book. Ah, shoot. No, I'm pretty sure it's the next book. I'm not even gonna bring this up.
Okay.
Because this is when Mustang gets brought back into the fold, but that's after. So Mustang's reaction was not one that was expected. At least when he took Mustang to his home, he took her to see his mother, um, and he tried to show her his life before he ultimately spilled the beans about who he really was. And I think when he did that, Mustang drew a gun on him, didn't she? Or something like that? Do you remember that? Uh-oh. Did we get disconnected?
Yeah, sorry, I forgot I had myself muted. Yeah, I think she does, doesn't
Uh-oh.
she? Pull a gun on him?
Yeah. She like pulls a gun on him and then she like runs away. And then that's kind of like the last time we see her in this book. Um, I think there are two things that upset her in this book. One of them is that he he admits like his true self. And the second thing that I don't think she likes is that Augustus announces that um, he is going to make Darrow his heir.
Right.
So this kind of like, I'm not sure how exactly Mustang felt about that because she kind of disappeared after that.
Yeah.
We do know that this was going to make the Jackal not too happy. And all the while, Darrow has been aligning himself with the Jackal. but he's being told by pretty much everybody not to trust
Hmm.
him. And we do kind of see towards the end of the book how that him, aligning himself with the jackal was like a major mistake.
Yeah.
A major mistake.
Well, he kind of accomplished. I don't know. He kind of almost accomplished Darrow's goal, but more directly than he wanted to. Like
Um,
more direct, more just direct,
yeah,
mindless revenge for the death of Io. Really would be like if he had killed him.
right. Yeah, I can see that. I can definitely see that.
Yeah, but I mean, he
Um,
definitely did ruin Darrow's plan, of course, by killing him himself.
right. Well, that was more than that got ruined because Darrow was trying to achieve a very high place in gold society.
Yeah, yeah, he had a much more elaborate plan and much more elaborate goals, right?
Right. I don't think he outright wanted to kill Augustus because there was a point where he actually got to learn Augustus's philosophy. And after talking with Augustus, he didn't see Augustus as being evil. He just saw Augustus as truly believing like the compact that the gold society had, and
Right.
he was doing what he was supposed to do
Yeah.
according to that compact.
Yeah, like a lot of more understandable villain characters. He's doing bad things because he thinks he's pursuing the greater good.
Right. Because he believes in order to preserve society, they need to have this hierarchical system. And
Yeah.
we get kind of the sense that um, there was like a complete breakdown and almost a brink of destruction due to democracy. Because it seems like democracy is like the communism of this world.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. That reminds me, obviously, there being an empire and going back to some sort of system that's more similar to a monarchy than a democracy is another aspect that makes it kind of more similar to a sci-fi fantasy series, and it's another aspect that's more similar to Dune that made me think of that too.
Right. So from they don't elaborate, but it seems like there was some type of catastrophic event in the past that um, kind of pushed them into forming society in this. And their whole philosophy revolves around that, and the, like diverting from that philosophy, at least in Augustus's eyes, will result in the end of humanity.
Right.
So he has a
Yeah.
very different view. Like his view is that he's trying to protect humanity by upholding this rigid
So,
hierarchical structure.
oh, I wonder if this is a prophetic series for what will happen when we colonize Mars after after a global apocalypse, and this is Elon Musk's new society years from now.
Well, Augustus is like the Jordan Peterson of this world.
Yeah, he kind of is.
um, but yeah, we get to see that um, Augustus truly does believe in this hierarchical society, and it believes that despite the suffering that the lower races have to endure, that this is the only way that they can survive without completely destroying themselves. And of course, Darrow doesn't believe it.
Right.
Um, man, there's so much stuff that happens in this book.
Yeah, there really is.
Um, like, there's of course an awesome like space battle.
Yeah, really awesome
There's
space
like a
battle.
very long, awesome space battle that like starts on the moon and they're escaping from the moon, and then they get into a shuttle, and then while they're escaping, one of their comrades gets killed named Quinn, which Roke was in love with, and this kind of like sours the relationship between Roke and Darrow. And while they're escaping in space, they come up with this crazy plan, and he shoots himself at the Sovereign's flagship, commandeers it, says, "Hey, everybody on board, these golds. Usually in our battle school, we're taught to vent everybody off the ship, but I'm going to give you the opportunity to go ahead and fight against the golds." And
Yeah, that's
they
a cool part. Is that's when we meet Ragnar too, isn't it?
yeah, Ragnar is like he's one of the first of these people that kind of pledge his allegiance right away to Darrow.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a really
So
cool part.
yeah, so he takes control of the ship and he names it the Pax, which is his dead friend from
Right,
House Telemanus.
right.
Pax Telemanus! He would always yell his name for
Hmm.
battle, which is kind of strange, you know.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
But yeah, so we got about man. I'm just trying to think of what else happens in this book. It's just there's just so much stuff, man. There's just so much that happens. It's really hard to keep track. Like I know the gist of it is he is trying to win this civil war
Yeah,
while also trying to because he has a goal of it's almost conflicting goals, right? He hates Augustus, but he needs Augustus.
hmm,
And and then he aligns with somebody he also doesn't like. Like he hates the jackal, but he
yep,
loves Mustang. So it's like this crazy and weird family dynamic that he has to work within.
hmm,
And it's also a story about keeping friendships and burning friendships.
definitely. Yeah,
Did you want to talk about Roke a bit?
yeah. Roke is an interesting character in this one. That's the one. Is that the one? Is that the one? Am I
It's
confusing?
basically the biggest betrayal. He is the person who ultimately betrays Darrow.
I'm forgetting this part.
All right, so in the end, Roke finds out that Darrow is a red, and he ultimately rejects Darrow.
Okay,
And then when he rejects Darrow, after finding out he was a red, um, he aligns himself with the Jackal. All the
right,
while, throughout this book, he had been neglecting his friendship with Rogue by not bringing him in on decisions and not talking to him during important plot points. Like I know one of the first things he did was instead of being truthful with Rogue during the whole Gala situation, he drugged him instead of talking to him. You know.
right,
Roke also sees Darrow as responsible for Quinn's death.
right.
And Quinn, I think was they were a couple, I believe. So
Quinn and
yeah,
Darrow?
no, Quinn and Rogue.
Oh, okay. That's why I was confused.
Yeah, so there's a lot of many things that start eroding at their friendship, and ultimately, Rogue, in the end, betrays Darrow when he finds out that Darrow is a red.
Yeah, and I don't remember how much farther along it is, but then near the end of the book, the jackal ends up killing Nero, right?
Yeah, that happens absolutely at the end of the book.
Yeah, that was a big
Right.
surprise ending there too, like you were mentioning.
Yeah. So a number of people, um, a number of people end up getting killed, and seemingly one of the characters, Vitra, seemed in that scene to have been gotten killed, or at least like severely or mortally injured.
Yeah.
Um, Augustus got killed. I think he got beheaded.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and Darrow was captured. And we
Yep.
get to see that Augustus had found out that he was a red, I think through interrogating Harmony. So Harmony had spilled the beans
Right.
when Harmony was captured. So,
Harmony
because there were
betrayed
a
him
few.
too.
Well, yeah, Harmony betrayed him. Also, the Jackal had known for a while that he was red because there was a certain point where I think Augustus was in like his own compound or something, and uh, Darrow showed up with an ulterior motive, and his ulterior motive was to distract the Jackal while breaking out the Sons of Ares that he had captured.
Right.
All right, so this ultimately confirms the Jackal's suspicion as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Jackal knew, and at the end of this book, we get kind of like a red wedding moment, for lack of a
Yeah.
better term.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so this book's it ends in the red wedding. I was like, holy shit, so much stuff happens. And
You want
like
to
as soon
describe?
as this book ended, I popped in the next book because I
Oh,
needed to
nice.
know what happened. I
Nice.
was like, I couldn't imagine like having read that book and then having to wait for the next book to come
Yeah.
out. I would have been
Great.
like pretty mad.
I wonder how many years there was between books. I'm gonna look that up here. Okay, so
I
Red
want,
Rising is 2014.
mhm.
Golden Son is Golden Son is 2015. The next year is the third one Gold Morning Star.
Morning Star. Yeah.
That came out in 2016. So the first three were 1 year after the other. That's pretty quick.
Mhm. Yeah, one thing I'm really impressed with is that this is Pierce Brown. Is that the name of the author?
Yeah.
Um, that was his first book.
Yeah,
So
it's a pretty good debut novel for sure.
yeah, so I was like, man, this guy's running straight out the gates on all cylinders.
Yep.
So I thought, yeah, the writing is definitely excellent, and it has been getting better um,
Yeah.
through each book.
I think we probably both agree that book 2 is better than book 1. And if I remember correctly from my first read through, I looked book 3 even more than book 2, but book 4 not as much as book 3. But you said
Book three,
you like book
yeah,
2 even more than book 3?
I think just the way it ended, like I was like, holy shit. It was like completely blew me away.
Yeah,
And there was
definitely
a
an
similar
awesome
moment
ending.
that I thought was going to happen with book 3. It's like, fuck, is this happening again? But he kind of subverted that.
Yeah.
So, uh, yeah, there's definitely some trickery that happens at the end of book 3 too.
Yep.
That one we'll talk about that when we talk about book 3.
Definitely.
Um,
Do you want to just briefly summarize that red wedding scenario that happens at the end of Goden Son?
yeah, so there is kind of like a ceremony that's all right. So basically, um, Augustus has regained authority over Mars because they had won, various battles, and they had been doing pretty good in the whole Civil War thing. And this ceremony was to make Darrow his heir. So that meant whenever Augustus was passing on, would pass on directly to Darrow.
Mm-hmm.
Not to the Jackal, not to Mustang, to Darrow. And each of his trueborn kin had some objections to it for different reasons. But what happens is they go to this ceremony where he's being recognized as being Augustus's true heir.
Mm-hmm.
And during this ceremony, I believe it's Roke who there's some type of MacGuffin that he needs to hand over to Darrow, and during this, he gives Darrow a clue that this is not all what it seems. Darrow puts 2 and 2 together a bit too late, and that's when they start just like murdering people at the party.
What's Roke's MacGuffin again?
I don't know. They like give him a scepter or a crown or a hat or something that he presents. Something gets presented. Some item gets presented to Darrow. I don't remember what it was, but while he
Yeah,
was
I don't remember what it
presenting the
was
item to
either.
Darrow, like he kind of revealed himself a little bit.
Okay.
Like I think he says something
Oh,
like, "Oh, you were a great friend,"
I
or
forgot that
something like that.
Arid, aka Fichtner, gets killed too.
Um, Fitchner,
Yeah.
yeah, he does he get killed at the. I'm trying to remember if he gets killed.
Yeah, when I
Yeah, he
was
does get
looking,
killed at the end. I
I
do
was
remember
looking,
that.
I was
Yeah.
trying to find what Roke's MacGuffin is, and I just was skimming over the Wikipedia page, and I forgot that the box of Roke, a box, Roke handed a box to Darrow that is revealed to contain the head of Fichtner stuffed with grapes,
Right,
an echo
right.
of a long ago betrayal by Nero.
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah, but like you
yeah.
were saying, there's so much that happens in this book, right?
Right, right. A ton. A ton, yeah. There's a lot that happens. Definitely for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really good book, man. I think I gave, if I remember correctly, I gave the first book 3 stars, and I think I gave this one 4 stars. What about you?
I think I gave the first 4 and this one 5.
Sweet.
Because I was like, holy crap. It's kind of like blowing my mind.
That's why this series is so great, man. Like, there's so much happens. There's so much that happens, rather, that you need to reread them, and I'm definitely going to reread them again too, because like I said, even on my second reread this time, there was still, or I mean my first reread rather, there was just still so much stuff that I missed.
Yeah, it's such a breakneck speed that this book travels at.
Hmm.
It's like super crazy fast. The pacing is super crazy. And
Yeah.
there's like a couple of different times where we thought Darrow was gonna die. I know there was some part where he like assaulted the it was like he was assaulting one of the sovereign strongholds, and they were prepared for him, and they did like an EMP,
Oh
and
yeah,
they
yeah. I just remembered that too. So he was staging some sort of battle, but it turned out that he was being drawn into he and his forces were being drawn into a trap where they set off an EMP, so their armor couldn't work and they got trapped in their armor. Yeah,
yeah,
right.
and a bunch of like the howlers got killed off,
Mm-hmm.
and then we're like thinking that he's gonna meet his demise, but he actually survives that encounter,
Right.
like by the skin of his teeth, of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah,
I thought
definitely.
I thought he was gonna get killed or captured or something like that. So I was like, oh shoot. He's always getting himself into situations where we think he's about to get killed or captured.
Yeah, exactly.
And then he gets like he has like some ingenious plan that kind of ends up working out for him. Because it always seems like he has some plan. He always has some plan in his back pocket that he reveals at the last second, you know. But yeah, that's what it always seems like. It's really good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So, was there anything else that we didn't cover?
Um, I don't know. Can you think of anything like this? I don't know. A lot happens in this
Yeah, I
book,
know. I
but
think we
it's
pretty much covered most, if not all, of the most important parts.
right. Yeah, I think we covered pretty well. Like in this book, there's an unresolved situation between him and Mustang. He gets captured in the end. Ares gets revealed, but he gets killed at the end of this book. So it seems
Yep.
like, man, they killed the leader of they killed the leader of his organization,
Mm-hmm.
and he's captured. Like, what worse can happen?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's why it's such an awesome cliffhanger ending, like you were saying, right?
yeah. Because when he does meet with Ares or talk with Ares, it's almost like a breath of relief. Because during this point in the book, it seemed like the sons of Ares have been a complete disaster.
Mm-hmm.
Without the loss of leadership. But we find out that oh no, he's around. He had just been because he had been so close to the sovereign. He kind of had to lay low for
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, which makes
see,
sense.
yeah. So yeah, this is a really good book.
Yeah, definitely.
I highly recommend it. I'm hoping one day maybe the Negroes will cover it because I know Addison's because he always makes
Oh, he has?
references to this book. Yeah, he's read Red Rising.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, have you been checking out his read of The Wheel of Time?
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, the he's doing that with that is
The
she a
disembodied
booktuber or
head.
something? That
I
woman he talks
believe
with him?
so.
Yeah.
The disembodied like head.
Yeah. The like
Yeah.
avatar 3D avatar woman.
Yeah, I think she's a booktuber.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, he's read Red Rising. I'm
Yeah,
thinking
since
maybe he.
he's starting to talk about actual books on the channel too, it would totally be possible for him to do that, I bet. Yeah, that would be cool to see too.
Yeah, I'd love this. I don't know. He's really entertaining. He has a lot of good and funny takes. He's really quick-witted with his humor.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Uh, but yeah, I love Red Rising. There's a lot of great moments in the series, and because when people were talking about this book, like the title made me think, oh, this must be something that was written a long time ago. No, written within the past 10 years. So it definitely follows modern writing tropes, writing
Yeah,
styles. Um,
yeah, yeah. It's not like it's very much not the style of classic, really hard sci-fi fantasy like Isaac Asimov with very little character development, but all of it revolving around a very hardcore, fascinating science fiction plot.
yeah, and it is a first person, written in first person. Typically, I'm not too jazzed. Well, you have to be really good to write it well. Fortunately, the first person books that I do like have been really well written.
Yeah.
So I'm referring to like Dresden Files and things like that.
That's the first one I thought of too, man.
Dresden Files, I know, because I know you haven't read it. Assassin's Apprentice, it's in first person. Um, but not too many books are in first person.
Hmm.
Yeah, so, but
Um,
yeah, I really
those Altered
enjoyed.
Carbon books are, right?
Oh yeah, those are in first person. I don't mind
Yeah.
those. Also, I think
Yeah.
those are well written in first person.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, like you, once I read the books, I also liked them more than the show, especially season two.
Yeah, I never finished season 2. Maybe I will someday.
Season
Because
one is way more similar to the first book than season two is to the second book, but season two is actually more similar to the third book than the second book. Yet there's still less similarities between that book and that season of the show.
all right, okay. All right, man. So yeah, those are my thoughts. 5 stars for me. I thought it was a great read.
Sweet.
It's going to be up there of one of those books that I hope gets adapted someday.
Hmm.
I think
Yeah,
it's an
I'm
excellent
I'm glad that you like it, man.
material.
I thought you would because we have similar reading tastes most of the time, and I thought you would like it. And yeah, it's definitely one of my favorite science fiction series.
Yeah, definitely not the ponderous type. I know this is not Dune, where they're kind of in the characters' heads all the time.
Hmm.
This is very different. We do get into Darrow's head, but he's not super philosophical.
Yeah,
Um, he still has a youngish side to him that worries about things that youngish people worry about, which I
yeah,
don't
yeah,
mind too
exactly.
much.
Yeah, yeah, me neither. Yeah, there are pros and cons to different types of sci-fi, of course. Like the character development in Red Rising is way better than anything by Isaac Asimov or anything by Arthur C. Clarke that I've read, or yeah, probably specifically Asimov. But Asimov and Arthur C. Clarke have way more hardcore sci-fi, kind of philosophical questions that are explored. Um,
Hmm.
but it also tends to be a slower paced plot, so this is like kind of action sci-fi.
Yeah, because a lot of this, I would say a lot of it's a different thing. Like this is more about classes and the human condition
Yeah,
as a
that it's
whole.
so interesting too. That's what makes it kind of socio-politically interesting, like this all this stuff to do, all the details to do with the caste system on Mars.
Hmm. Right. Whereas, like when you mentioned Asimov, a lot of the Asimov books are how humans deal with technology,
Hmm.
and the, this isn't how humans deal with technology. It's more we have this caste system in place, and in this setting, we do have some technology, but they don't. The society doesn't revolve around the actual technology. Like, yes, there's grab boots and mech suits and razors and things like that. But it's not like, oh, does having a razor change the fundamental society of how humans behave or anything like that? No,
Hmm.
it's mainly just a cool weapon, or the ground boots are like these cool things that they have, or these
Hmm.
mech suits are these cool things that they have.
And
But it's not.
like biological implants and that sort of stuff that the golds have to make them bigger and whatnot.
Mhm. So yeah, it's much less about them dealing with technology. It's mostly about them dealing with a political system where things are not equal.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So
Basically about political revolution in the caste system on the uh, interplanetary empire on Mars in the future, with sword
right.
fights and space battles.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, yeah. Red Rising is definitely an awesome book, and Goden Son gets even better. All right, yeah. So we talked about pretty much all of the most important aspects of the book, and I know you don't have that much more time, so yeah, we can end it here. And thanks for talking as always. This is fun as always, man. I love
Yeah, for
our
sure, man.
I love our both of our online book clubs that we have where we frequently talk about books that we read and love. It's so much fun. And
Right, right.
yeah.
And we're
And
gonna have another one soon on Logan's
yeah,
Run.
yeah. Speaking of that, we were gonna talk about that anyway. Yeah, on so actually before that, but on
We're gonna
Thursday on
do,
your
yeah, we're gonna
channel,
do Wheel of Time.
right, we're gonna talk about, is it book 11, Crossroads of Twilight?
Yeah, Crossroads of Twilight. We're doing part 2,
Right.
which is gonna be somewhat uneventful. To be
Yeah.
honest, because the middle
Yeah.
of book 11 is like not the most eventful thing. So I'm not expecting to have like a super long conversation about it, because man, does the middle of book 11 not much. I can't say not much happens, but there's like a bunch of dwelling on the details of political machinations that are okay at
Boring.
best.
Boring.
Yeah, they're not like, you know, Game of Thrones level, political moves. They're kind of like, oh, this group of nobles is doing this and aligning themselves in this, yada, yada, yada. You will get to it when we get to it. I know,
Hmm.
I don't know how long we're going to discuss it. I'm probably going to have to review some things. But yeah, the middle of book 2, like the beginning of the book has a lot in it because we get Matt and
The prologue,
um,
giant prologue.
giant prologue. We get Matt's story because the middle of the book doesn't have Matt in it. So I think it does have a little bit of Matt, but not much. But yeah, we'll definitely talk about that on Thursday. So I've set aside 2 hours, from 1 to 3, my time to talk about that. Um, and I know Tristram's going to be excited because he likes that time slot.
Yes, that works much better for him because he doesn't have to start a podcast at midnight or 1 in the morning or whatever time it is for him.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And
So,
also people watching should check that out on Dusty's channel, Woke Centrist. And then also you were mentioning this weekend.
Logan's Run.
Yeah, this weekend we're gonna talk about the Logan's Run book
So, did
on
you
your
watch the
channel.
movie yet?
Oh crap, you know what? I didn't yet. I better do that.
Yeah, watch the movie.
Yeah.
Um, I have very, very different opinions between the book and the movie. The
Yeah. They
book is like,
wouldn't surprise me if they're pretty different.
they are pretty different, and you'll see my opinions. Like, man, there's such a divergence between the material, and I like one of the things way more than the other
Okay.
one. I won't divulge that now. You'll find out which one. Like I'll say, I would probably give one a thumbs up and the other one a thumbs down.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. So
and I'll tell you which one when we talk about it.
yeah, and people are probably more likely to have have at least watched the Logan's Run movie, I bet, than to have read Golden Son. But yeah, those of you who watch this probably have read it, and if not, you should definitely read it now because even if we gave you some spoilers, like we were saying, there's so much that happens in this book that you'll forget a whole lot of it. And yeah, it's definitely Red Rising is definitely an awesome series. So yeah, and also, oh yeah, was it? I don't remember whether we heard back from Chris yet. Were we gonna still talk about George Orwell's Animal Farm on my channel this weekend?
Oh, I'm up for it, man. If you guys want to do it.
Yeah, let's see if Chris is up for it. So
Yeah.
yeah, everyone watching this should check out for that possibly this weekend, or if not, we'll probably talk about another book or something like that.
Mhm.
And yeah, thanks everyone for watching. Hope you like us nerding out about these awesome sci-fi books. And yeah, thanks everyone for watching. Subscribe to the channel. Click that like button to be notified when I come out with new videos. Check out my Patreon page. Link is in the description as always. Share this everywhere. Check out Dusty's channel, Woke Centrist. And like I always say, I love you all. Keep being the tiny beam of light that shines through the almost impenetrable darkness in the universe. And most importantly, always remember this: the funk cures all, and groove is in the heart. And why not not morning sun, golden sun. I was mixing the titles of the second and third books. Golden Sun is an even better book than Red Rising, and it's an awesome sci-fi fantasy series. All right. Anything else you want to say before we end it there, Dusty?
No, I'm all good. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you guys join us next time.
All right. Adios until next time, everyone.
Toodaloo.